Okay, well, hello, Jenny. Thanks for joining us. And hi, Tim. And
Thanks for having me, guys. Glad to be here.
I love your trees. So we
Thank you. I know. They're my friends.
Yeah. Bring the tree energy into the space. That's great. Yeah, so Tim's kind of tapped into some of our energy space today.
But it's not up to me.
If there's something you want to share, or if something that's been coming up, you're welcome to do that as well. So.
The last one I watched, I'm not all the way through it with Patty. I resonated with a lot of those topics. I don't know if that was the date we originally tried to schedule for or something, but it was like every topic I was like, oh my gosh, yes. Oh my gosh, yes. Like the whole just changing, rapidly changing. All of that's happening to me too, but kind of in a different way. I went the yogic path, like my meditation, because I was wondering, listening to your videos and wondering the how to get from here to there. Like the meditation practice that I did was all about getting there. And I kind of forgot, I don't know why, but I was listening to Sadhguru talk about Kriya meditation, which is what I took the class in and what I was doing for like 6 months every day at 4 a.m. And that's what it does. It brings your energy up to the crown. And so you can have those moments of like complete clarity. And that's when all the information just started flooding in. And I just had these knowings, and I didn't know why I knew it. I just knew it, and then, or else I'll know something. And then somebody in the UK will make this lengthy post. And I'm like, whoa, that's exactly what I know now. But I can't type it out like that, but I know that stuff. But my key was from meditation. That's what unlocked everything for me.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that highlights a good point in that we're not all meant to do the same thing.
Right.
So
oh, yeah.
Some people are going to be really good at music. Some people are going to be really good at painting. Some people are going to be really good at architecture. Others are going to be really good at getting messages from their higher selves or from the collective consciousness and being able to put it in a form that more and more people can digest. You may get the message. You may already have it before someone else actually says something, but it may activate more inside you. So to me, what I think is coming out now are, and in fact, it's actually on my list, people coming forward, more and more people coming forward now. But relative to the numbers, they seem very small, that they have a way about putting the topics in, utilizing certain words that it resonates with more people. Other people are talking about it, which is good. We need that.
Right.
But I can read an article and go, I don't really know. And then I go over, and it's a lengthy one, and then go over here, and this one's just like a couple paragraphs, and it's like, wow, that's awesome. But there's
click.
Yeah, and I don't know if it was like this for you, Jenny, but for me too, when things started coming on, I couldn't find the words to talk. It was like I had concepts, but to be able to describe it, and I still sometimes don't. And so then I know it's for me to learn, and then two, when it's ready, it'll surface in words. Yeah.
Right, because those are two separate areas of us.
Right.
One area is getting the activation, getting the knowings. Another is actually putting it into words. So you may have one, but not the other. And that's.
See, I think I'm just now getting ready to, because before I probably would have said too much or tried to force it on people. I would be so excited about an idea that I needed someone to hear it, so it's good that I couldn't say it, because I would have tried to flood too many people with it, and they weren't ready to hear it yet, so it's like divine timing for my tongue being, kept where it was at the time. And I don't even, like, I used to feel like I had this need to share what I needed for other people. Now I really don't. I mean, I could go I could literally be one of those yogis in a cave for years. If I could, I could do that easily.
That's pretty much what I've been, is a bear in a cave, and something has prompted me to come out now and start talking about this, and the words are coming. How long have we been doing it with Sheila and Lisa?
You with me and them probably since what, February maybe? Or was it February we started with them?
Yeah. It was like
Something like
after the
that.
first of the
Yeah,
year.
January or February.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So before that, it's just been her and I talking.
Mhm.
And I told her that before we started with Sheila, like when we first saw Sheila and Lisa on their site, their YouTube site, I told her that she was going to be engaging with them and doing videos, and then later I would be.
Yeah. And it's interesting because I've heard a couple other people say that they were, even the guy on N5D, he was talking about how he had been away, kind of out of the mark for a while, and now
Secluded.
he's just started re-engaging probably the last couple months
Yep.
again. Yeah, so I think they cycle through some of those.
Yeah,
as
awakening is not a one-shot deal. It's a multi-layered, one after another when you're ready. And you can get off the ride anytime you want. I don't. I'm like, what's next? You know,
Yeah. Me too.
I know this is going to keep getting better, so I don't want to get off the ride.
Yeah.
Right. Well, I'm finally at the place where I know it's not real. You know, like I mean, I have a lot of emotional drama surrounding me. I've got 3 daughters, you know, and then I've also got a video gaming boyfriend who I love, but he's going through his stuff too, and it's a lot of emotional stuff. But I'm getting to the place where I used to be so drawn into it, and now I'm kind of at the place where I'm just like, okay, this is something I'm playing out a part in a game, like not a game, but a lesson that I set up beforehand so I could learn something. So now I'm really trying to figure out, when I'm the other part of someone else's lesson, how to help them work through that lesson, but not damage myself and not enable them as well, you know? So that's where I'm now trying to figure out, okay, because I'm kind of done with the lesson with you. I love you, but I don't want to learn anymore from you because I think I can relax now. So how am I to help you without you hurting me?
Well said.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So,
You want to start on this?
Sure. Yeah.
All right. The first one I have on this list for us is we went to negotiate their surrender. Some are accepting. We is those of us whose frequencies are at a certain level that the Galactics recognize, are working with them to negotiate with the Cabal for their surrender. So it's not the Galactics doing, we're actually running it. Humans are running the human aspect of it. The Galactics are running the galactic portion of it, because this isn't just a Earth surrender. This is a galactic surrender as well. So, and the key point here is some are accepting the surrender terms, because the galactic, the Cabal is not, it's not monolithic. So you don't just get one surrender and they're done. It's actually, the Cabal is actually made up of many subgroups. So you don't just deal with one group and everyone accepts whatever that one group says. You have to actually work with all the subgroups. And so many of the subgroups are either doing their own negotiations with the Galactics, or just accepting what was laid down to the Cabal overall, and just accepting and laying down their arms. So that's actually in process right now, and this will feed into a couple of the other items. So I actually saw that.
So when you say we went to negotiate, you're saying in another energetic space? Or,
yes, because this was a space that both sides would accept neither side has an advantage or disadvantage, and so it's a protected space.
Okay.
I don't know exactly where it was. All I know is I couldn't read outside it.
Oh, you can pick up any. Yeah.
I couldn't read anything outside, so I couldn't tell if it was in space, underground, on the surface, in another solar system, I on another planet. I couldn't tell. So that was, being a part. But I realized that I've been doing this for a while.
In your dreams time or whatever.
When you're dreaming it, are you like just seeing it, or are you an actual player in the dream?
Yes.
Both.
Many times, okay. I don't always get pictures. Most of the time I get impressions. And as I'm digesting the impressions, I'll sometimes get snapshots or short videos. Within the videos, I'm starting to understand the differences on the different perspectives that I get. For instance, if I'm pulling up a vision that's actually from me being there, I'm not going to see me.
Right.
Everything is going to be from a perspective of eyes. The issue there is I don't know if they're my eyes or someone else's eyes. So oftentimes what I try to do when I do that is try to get a signature reading from the being's eyes. And often I've gotten quite familiar now of being able to identify my signature.
Okay. So you don't have to actually physically see yourself.
Right. So I don't have to look and say, okay, where's that birthmark?
Yeah.
I don't do that. I can just feel when I'm looking through my eyes. And that's often what I get is they're from my eyes. But occasionally I've had it where I'm reading something and I'm unsure if it's me or not. And I should know right then that it's not me, because later I find out it isn't me. So I'm getting better at that. But occasionally I'll actually get a video from another signature. So it's not me, and I'll see me. And at first that was kind of freaky, but I've seen it so often now that it's not that big a deal. When you dream, are you looking through your eyes, or do you see yourself?
I don't know. Like, I don't think I ever see myself. And I very rarely remember my dreams. I'll have impressions in the morning. Real early morning, I'll remember some. But most of the time it's like daytime. I trance out a lot during the day. I have, I like have a lot of free time. And so I spend a lot of time in trance. I spend a lot of time when I first started meditating, I would spend, if I had a bad day, I would go and meditate the whole day. Like I would literally just all day long meditate. And then, so I think I get more of my impressions during the day, or stuff, stuff like that will pop into my head. But dreams, it'll be right before I'm about to wake up. And that's usually, though, it's contacting someone else who's also dreaming about me in the earth realm. Cause it's a lot of times I'll contact the person I was dreaming about, or I was when I woke up thinking about, and they were exactly thinking about me, or they had just sent me a message or something to that effect. So it's like more of some kind of a connection or telepathy or something like that.
Yeah. Most of my dreams, I realized throughout my life, have been looking through my eyes and seeing things, like walking in the forest or going to a place and something happening to me. I don't know when it started, but at some point, I want to say fairly recently, especially, I think I started getting a third person, either from someone else or oftentimes what I think I'm getting is a higher self view of myself in my dream. Like the common, my common fears have been heights. So for that one, I'm often scaling a building that is in the process of being built, and so they're just girders with no safety wires, no handrails or anything like that. And I'm up a mile up, and I'm walking along these girders that are this wide, and I can see myself doing it. Because but I also see through my eyes looking down, and that's when I get, when in the past I would freak out. Yeah. Now I don't freak out. Now I dance up there because something has changed just recently where I faced all my fears, including the snake ones. But I noticed I was switching. So I was switching from my eyes to the higher self point of view, or just out of body, and then back to my eyes, and so I could go back and forth. So that's kind of what these dreams feel like there's going, but there's also the third person, and I have to figure that out. Is that a third person, or is that my higher self showing me that? And oftentimes just by them looking around, I can tell, because third person, it's almost like being on watching from a drone or something.
That's what I feel like. There's like a attachment from like a tether, like almost like a higher soul tether, but like a camera kind of thing that's going through the body of the person, but it's also up here. That's what I'm like envisioning for some reason in my head.
That's what it feels like to me. Not that there's a physical connection, but there's probably a telepathic or energetic connection.
Etheric type of thing.
Because I can switch views. I can go from, facing north to facing southeast, or, from behind or from the front.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, when you asked that question, the first answer I got was both for me, but I don't remember the visual, like a specific dream at the moment. But I have seen dreams where it's me looking out of my eyes, and I've seen dreams where I've been watching a scene play, kind of that feeling. I've been watching it play out.
Yeah.
And I've also dreamt of being in like eagles, I've dreamt several times being inside of looking from an eagle's eyes, flying. So I understand what you're saying with the signature, because it does feel very different. You can feel it when it's you and when it's not, even before you realize what it is, or who it is.
Yeah. And at some point, I don't know when exactly, but I was able to, when you wake up and you're in that twilight zone, everything is so crystal clear before you fully wake up. Then you wake up and you can't remember it all. At some point, I was able to, if I found some alone time, usually when I'm reading and it's really quiet, is when my dreams would start coming back to me. And that I could start playing with it. I didn't just have one view on my dream. I had like multiple cameras, and I could bounce back and forth, and then I could figure out from what angle. But it seemed like the main one was through my eyes.
Yeah.
My yoga teacher teaches this thing where right when you first wake up, you write down any words, like immediately, like before you forget, any words that you remember from the dream. And then on the back of the page, whatever you did that day that's important, and like do that every day for 30 days. And she says you will have a correlation from your life to your dreams. And then you can start tracking like what would be the best days to make certain types of decisions in your life based on that. I never got that far. I'm too distracted to structure myself that way at any point in time. But a lot of people were able to, like, I guess her husband, he's a realtor. So he would make his appointments on Tuesdays because based on his dream tracking, that was going to be his most successful days to do these things. And it ended up changing his career. just by tracking dreams and stuff like that. So I have no idea how that would work, but
yeah, I mean, I think there's many different methods. I mean, you got to find out what works for, I mean, each person's got to find what works for them. But the sense I get is that's just one method.
And when did you realize you were getting like messages and they were more than just, just dreams, they were something that was really intense and something you needed to pay attention to?
Well, how long have we been talking? Well, before we did the videos where I was getting that stuff and during our conversation.
34 years ago, the images started.
Yeah.
Before you got the moving, maybe even 5 years ago, the images would come, but then.
I got it before then, but started talking to you is when that happened. So at least 5 years ago, I'm going to say possibly. I was getting this before I moved down here. So I'm going to ballpark it and say probably 2012.
It's intense. I think I started awakening in 2011 when I started going through some really crazy stuff. But now looking back, it was so magical too. All of the shedding that was going on, because I had to have all that shedding in order to have the distance to shed the codependency, to have it all start activating. But my dreams have always been something I wanted to delve more into, but I never could remember them. I know they're happening, but I can't remember them at all, at all.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, I think my awakening started, and we talked about this back in like 2005, 2006.
Yeah.
I was living in the basement at the time. I secluded myself off. But yet at the time I was still married, and that was my dark night of the soul that went on for about a year and a half. And I was pulling up everything and going through depression and having to face all this stuff, and then came out the other side and just completely revamped my life. But I had to go through it again because one thing I wasn't really, well, I'd always eaten healthy most of my life, but it's like the powers that be, they knew they weren't going to get us with, just these foods or just those foods. So they started putting crap in our organic food, the stuff that was certified organic, because I was eating healthy, and yet I still dealt with enough to sidetrack me for a while, even after I came out of that dark night of the soul. And it wasn't until I finally decided, I was up in Virginia, and I decided I'm moving down here with no job prospects, no nothing. I moved down here, and I believe that was like carving out a space and getting rid of all the chatter, the noise. And that's what I think is important for the dreams. It's not that you have to hurry up when you wake up to write these things down, although that might work. But another option is just find time for quiet. Because the thing in the way is this, and this gets activated by all the different noise and all the shows and all the music and all that. If you can find quiet time, I think you can actually start to build confidence that you are talking to yourself. It's coming through, and you'll start to hear it. Right now, with everything going on, it's everything else is too loud to hear it.
I'm pretty good at like being completely blank minded. I was at the beach with Mandy, my friend Emily, and there was nothing there. Nothing, like not a damn thing. I was just sitting there completely blank. And then when I want to think about something, I pull it in. And then sometimes something will creep in that I really don't want to think about. And then I'm able to like push it right out. So I'm getting to this place of complete and total mind control over myself, as long as I stay in my place of, practice and being proactive and intentional about it. When I start to fall off and be reactive about life is when everything starts to go to hell. But I've gotten to the place where I can just pick and choose what I'm going to think about, because I'm really trying to manifest certain things and play with my manifestations, and I'm just getting so good at it. And I don't know, it's almost getting scary good. It's getting crazy. I wanted a car and I needed a car, and I got one 2 days later. I mean, everything fell into place, but like, I just was like, I'm going to have a car. And I did all this stuff, and then I got a car. I got one. And then somebody did tarot on me. They're like, no, you're not going to have one for 3 months or whatever. I was like, no. I'm changing this right now, and I'm going to get a car, and I'm going to have a car. 2 days later, I had a car. And I just want to be able to fine tune that in a even better way, to where I know exactly what I'm doing. Because also, that Doris Day died, the most random thing. I don't even like her. I mean, I think she's cool and all. I've never been into her. But the night before she died, I happened to want to hear this song. I play the song. It's a Doris Day playing the song. It was Dream a Little Dream. I didn't even know she sang that song. Then the next day I find out she's died. So that was so weird. Then I'm driving through my neighborhood yesterday, and I keep looking at we have those cookie cutter houses, but the same one keeps popping in my line of sight. Then yesterday, that same house, not the exact same one, but that same model of house burned down in my neighborhood. But it was that particular model.
Did you do it?
Right? I didn't have fear, or I didn't feel any kind of thing. Wow. It's just randomly stuff like it's happening. You know what I mean? But I didn't feel like, oh. So I was like, maybe that's the house I'm going to buy or something, right? I was noticing, and there's certain triangles. And then I looked at the news, and I was like, oh my God, that's the same exact house I kept looking at yesterday morning. So it's just weird, random stuff like that starting to really happen, and animals popping up to me, and I'm becoming a real magical being. And but light, like the air doesn't even look the same. It's almost like I've always got this, this geometric stuff right in front of my face. Like I can push through it, Yeah,
the impression I'm getting is that you're operating in rogue mode, which is all of us need to learn how to do, but you're detached from the collective consciousness, which is good. It builds your individualism, but you're sometimes losing your contact with the society of the collective consciousness, where we all need to be grounded, and because who are you just by yourself?
Right.
You have no context. So we all belong to a collective, and in it, we understand what our path is, who we are, what our likes are, what our dislikes are. We need something to kind of push back off of to get a better sense of ourselves. But we also need rogue mode to develop our sovereignty. So I think you're working on your sovereignty.
Yes. Big time.
The ideal for most people, but you have to use your own discernment, is to develop your sovereignty while you're part of the collective. Because if you develop we just had this talk about someone else.
Yeah.
If you develop your sovereignty in seclusion, what kind of sovereignty is that?
That's true.
It's kind of meaningless, because we all need the collective. Otherwise, it's almost like you're going to get to the point where you're going to end up fighting yourself, because you need a villain instead of realizing,
oh, I have a villain.
Yeah. But the good thing about the collective consciousness is it gives us a foundation, a good foundation of what kind of beings we are, the kind of things we were meant to do, the kind of things to have discernment about. It gives us a context, and if you're in rogue mode, that context goes away. You get a different context, and that is a seclusion.
Well, and it also,
I feel like I can bounce back and forth though. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, Gina.
No, I was going to say you'll just get bored eventually if you're on your own like that, But go ahead, Jenny. Sorry about that.
I feel like I'm getting to where I can turn it on and turn it off, because I need to be able to have it in my own home at some points, because I have to be able to protect my own emotional field when you're around people who aren't completely healed yet, and then lashing out. And I'm a very sensitive being. Sometimes I'm caught off guard because I'm so into my sensitive doing something, and I think everything's fine. And then I'm like, oh, I don't have like a emotional shield protecting me. So it's like almost like I'm learning how to switch back and forth, because I feel like I'm trying to actually come out of that shell, because I was fighting for authenticity for so long, but then I hid myself away because I didn't want to be around other people, which how can you be authentic? And if people can't see it, that you're authentic,
Right.
so I started becoming more, getting more back out there in my own terms, especially kind of being a part of network marketing, not wanting to be a part of that robot society like you and I talked about, Gina. Doing it in my own way, and just being more, I don't know, I think I'm just learning how to really slip in and out of it, but try to find out when I need to be that way and when I don't need to be that way.
Yeah.
And that's so cool that I've learned that. I'm just realizing that I've learned it.
Yeah. To me, when I was going through that, I called that looping. I was looping, and I started out with really big circles because I was a noob at it. And as I got better, I started narrowing down the looping. And so that I was building my confidence in the ability of doing it, so that I could loop into what I wanted when that called for it. And that way I wasn't being the collective Tim when I needed to be the rogue Tim, and I wasn't being the rogue Tim when I needed to be the collective Tim. So, and no one can tell you how to do it. You basically just keep looping all over the place until you figure it out for yourself and find the pattern or the timing or the whatever that resonates with you. And it's a trial and error. I mean, hey, this didn't work, and then don't beat yourself up for it, and then say next time I'm going to do it this way and see what happens. It reminds me when I put my protein shakes together when I first was working on them, like, I don't know what to put in it, so I'm going to put a little bit of this and a little bit of that, and then realize, I think that one kind of hurt my stomach, so I'm going to hold that one back and then put something else in. And you just eventually, because of your reactions, you start having a feeling, okay, I put 5 things in there, I'm not sure which one did it, but I think it was this.
Yep.
I just have a feeling it's that one. So you eliminate it and you just do the other ones, and you're like, oh, that's better. Okay, so now I know not to do that one. And then you start experiment with other, but you're going to have those days where the combos doesn't quite sit right. But the good thing, it's a learning opportunity.
Now that you're saying that, looping, it is, because it's the same. Keep having situations, different types of situations, but it's the same people, same thing, but I'm the only thing that's changing, and I'm like, okay, let me see how I'm going to have it play out this time. Let me see. Even with customers that call that I know they're going to say this, I'm like, let me see what I'm going to say and how it's going to go. And I can totally manipulate what's going on and change it. But that's where, when it comes to, I don't want to manipulate things to make them easier for me when it's not in the best interest of somebody else. I don't want to do that. That's just not right.
Yeah, you're in learning mode. So that doesn't mean
I'm always in learning mode.
Right, but not everybody is.
No.
If you're in a pattern that doesn't break, like for anyone, we've all done it, then you're not in learning mode. It's only when you're in a certain kind of pattern it's a pattern, but you're noticing that you're changing one element or 2 elements at a time. That is looping, and you're in learning mode, because you're open to see what the changes do to you and learning what changes you need to make next time to better it.
I also know, though, that if I wanted to ascend quicker right now, I could, but I can't and still be in flow with the people that I need to be in flow with in this household and in my life. So it's like I'm forcing myself to not go, because if me and my partner right now, we can communicate, but we're getting to the point where we can barely communicate, and we have to. So if I completely ascend, then we're not going to be able to communicate at all. So I keep myself in a place on purpose of keeping this worldly stuff going on to do my God-given jobs or source-given jobs that I have to do before I do all this other spiritual stuff. Did I just go off track?
Well, most starseeds that are awake now, they could ascend beyond 3D right now if they wanted to.
Mm-hmm.
But they're here. They came here to help the rest of the people on the planet.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's not good enough to just learn lessons for just you and your benefit and
Right.
and then go ascend. Otherwise, you could have ascended anywhere. You didn't need to come to this planet to do that.
Right.
You came to this planet because it was the hardest, the most learning opportunity beyond just yourself learning, that
Mm-hmm.
you were going to be taking on responsibility, not just for yourself, but you were going to be signing up for additional responsibility beyond you.
Mm-hmm.
So this
Yes.
isn't a hurry up and ascend. This is
Mm-mm.
let's what can I do to make myself better, to assist, not do, but assist other people's awakening and ascending.
Yes.
Yeah, and it links back to something you said earlier, Jen, about how do I help that person? What kind of role am I playing in that person's lessons, and how do I play that role without it?
Mm-hmm.
So only to have that perspective means that you are doing just what you're taking the responsibility or that role that Tim just described.
Yeah, because the big thing is how do I engage them without hindering them?
Mm-hmm.
Because that's the thing that you caught on your Snapchat there video was first, do no harm.
Right.
Yeah.
So we starseeds we all took the Hippocratic Oath before we came here. We came here first to do no harm and to learn, but we knew that in learning, we had other people's lives at stake, that we could impact them both positively and negatively.
Yeah, and part of our learning that everybody's not like us.
Yeah.
It's like about things like us, and so part of it's understanding how they are, so that you know how to help them.
I told her a while ago I had to stop using myself as a default when I think of scenarios, and thinking, well, I don't know what everyone else's strengths and weaknesses are, so I'm going to use myself as a default. Stop doing that, because I'm not like everyone else.
Right.
And I wasn't meant to be in the role that I came down here to play. So it's okay to do it occasionally, but also keep my eyes and ears open, that even that is still just a if you're modeling something, it's just one set of parameters you could stick in. There are many other set of parameters that you could stick in and need to stick in there, so that you can get a well-rounded simulation of different possibilities. And that's why being a starseed is never simple. It's complicated because you're not just here for you.
I've always known that. I feel like even as a child, I always knew that. I was always just really compassionate and loving. And I know I got bullied, and I know that was to give me that compassion that a lot of other people don't have, because it does. It gives you that, I don't know. And that's how I raised my children to be too. So it's crazy looking back. You can see the whole design. You can see why it is the way it is, and how it's always supposed to have been that way. And one little thing could have changed for the better or worse, and it wouldn't be exactly the way it is right now. I wouldn't have the same people in my life that I have right now that I'm supposed to be here to help.
Yeah,
it's insane.
Yeah, you're right now, you're working on becoming the best aid worker you could be. That's primarily what you're doing, while yourself, you're growing. So you've got at least 2 tracks going on. One for your sovereignty and being the best you can be, while at the same time you're learning how to be beyond yourself, how to work beyond yourself and be responsible outside yourself. So that's what all
Yes.
seeds to some extent are working on. Otherwise, they wouldn't, like I said, they wouldn't have come here. They would have done it somewhere else to work on just themselves. They came here to do both, and this is more complicated. It's like we had a long conversation yesterday about what are the star seeds really? What are they? Well, actually, pretty much all the star seeds that are here, and there are a lot of them, they're all masters. They're all masters to some extent, but most of them are noob masters versus masters. How do I know that? By their behavior, by how long it's taking them to get through things, and then when they do, how they stall out, where they stall out, who's pushing the envelope, who's not pushing the envelope. Those kind of things, you can start to see trajectories. I did it for my life to kind of really step back and get a true, honest, unbiased opinion about myself, which is hard to do because it cuts you. It cuts you every which way, and you've got to be pretty tough to be able to deal with. This is what you're good at. This is not what you. No, I want to be good at that. No,
I know. It's hard.
It is, but that's the only way you grow is to face reality, not what you want. Having what you want is great, but you don't want that dichotomy between what you want and what is. You're trying to marry those up, and oftentimes it's modifying your want to not be such a huge jump from what is. It's okay to have that want, but to have that want and to close your eyes to what is, how can you get what you want if you won't acknowledge where you are?
Right.
Yeah, because those are your hidden boat anchors, like you call them, because you don't know they're there, so you can't figure out why it's not. What's happening? Why isn't the thing? And it's those things that we don't recognize about ourselves. That's what's keeping us back.
And right. I mean, you can sit there and say, I'll work on it. I'll work on it. When I hear people talk about that, I think you're a noob for one thing, and that's fine. I'm a noob in lots of areas too, but you're not. To me, I don't really make progress until I accept it whole and start having fun with it. If you're having fun with it, it is work, and you know what happens with work. You'll grind it. You'll get there, but did you really learn all you could have learned?
Right.
Because the people that really excel at their work are the ones who love it, who love it. They've accepted this is what I'm good at, and I wake up not because I have to go to work, but I get to go do something I love.
Right. I feel like that. I mean, I feel like I play a lot now, and I call that shadow work. Facing just the darkness of you, or the annoyance of yourself, and how you play the part, and all the things that you thought were just happening to you, and how you were attracting them to you. And they're still coming up for me right now, but it was not fun to go through, especially when you grow up with a mommy who feathered your nest and told you were amazing. And so then you get out in life and you're like, but what? I thought I was amazing. Hey, everybody, don't you think I'm amazing too? Mommy said I was amazing.
Yeah, I mean that coming from a star family, that is true. The issue with it is you're down here on this planet playing a role on this mission, and it doesn't fully help you with your role. It kind of skews to where you've got that dichotomy again, where you're being told this when you have to deal with this.
Right.
So now you're in the process of bringing those two together, and mommy's not around to do it for you anymore. So you're having to stand on your own two sovereign feet.
But it worked because I mean, I went through a lot of fighting about it, and now with my own daughters, I learned not to do that. So it was like my mom working out a karmic contract so that I would learn not to do that for the future children that are coming through. It was all part of the plan, but it was not fun to go through and realize that I wasn't awesome, you know, or I wasn't as awesome as my mom thought I was. To realize then that I actually am awesome.
Yeah, it's funny. It's,
awesome in a different way.
Yeah, right, exactly.
I realize I'm awesome and not awesome at the same time.
Right.
Yeah, that's
Yep.
You're expanding. You're turning into your multidimensional self.
Yes, and it feels so good.
Because
It really does.
you're able to accept most everyone has one perspective, themselves. And your multidimensional self allows you to have multiple perspectives, and that broadens you. And you also have to jump outside yourself, which that right there is going to give you a whole new expanded knowledge base that you can't get just as yourself.
So cool.
Yes, I tend to think that a lot of this.
Are you hearing this ice cream man going through my neighborhood? Might be Mr. Soft. We've got a couple. It's really loud.
So, I was thinking the star
Things are marching in.
have been a transition figure, you know, so it's like this turning where you said the karmic lessons and a turn, you know, so I think that we have taken some of those roles where it is that, you know, that turning, that kind of healing for the collective on those things.
Well, and that type of meditation that I learned, you can, they're called samskara, which are like the karmic files in your brain, where it's like something happens to you in a past life or early on in this life. And then as an adult, something will trigger it and pop that file open. You can go in, and the Kriya meditation, you can burn them up instead of having to live through them. So when I started delving into that meditation practice, I had a drastic change with going back to, I'm from Virginia as well. And every time I would go back, I would be like, ugh, you know, immediately the energy would get me. I would just have all these bad memories and feelings. And after that practice, I was able to go back and I started remembering things that were positive that I guess blocked out. And it's kind of like I healed a bunch of stuff. I didn't even really realize I healed it. It just healed, which was very cool.
Yeah.
And oftentimes you need to change the perspective to realize you've healed something.
Yes.
That sounds like it was. And oftentimes you can't even heal until you take that change of perspective or change of location and then come back and realize, hey, why is everything so different? No different. You are.
Yes. Well, I know that's how when I first started awakening, and I would see all these women in these groups taking these classes, and I would think, oh, I could never afford to do that. You know, I couldn't do that. And now, I mean, if anything, our financial situation's not as good as it was, but I'm able to do whatever I want. And the only thing that changed is how I think about it. That's literally the only thing that changed, is I just decided, okay, I'm going to do it. And then I'm going to try to figure it out. And I always am able to figure it out. So it's kind of cool how I can see myself just by my own thoughts, how I was, you know, keeping myself from growing because I thought I couldn't, to now where I know I can make anything happen that I really know I need to make happen.
All right, let's move on to the next item here. What I got is this part of the experiment is over, but cleanup can be quite messy and part of another experience. So the experiment that we came here to be a part of and to end has ended. It's actually over. That's why we're able to talk about the cabal and actually talk about their downfall and all that, because the experiment has actually ended. Now we're in the next phase, which is the cleanup, and that's the awakening of the rest of the population, but it's also dealing with all the backlash of what the experiment was on and what it did and the impacts it had. We haven't cleaned up the impacts to the population. We've thrown open the cell doors. We've thrown open the cell doors and freed all the slaves, but some are starving, some are in pain, some have multiple levels of trauma. and the cleanup involves dealing with their different levels of pain and getting them ready to face both being a sovereign being and getting on that path, and also joining or rejoining the collective consciousness. So that can be quite messy. And the Galactics are here to help us, but every situation is different. And they're not in charge. We are.
Mm-hmm.
Plus, as we've just talked about our dark nights of the soul and facing these things that we've practiced. We've had some practice on how we've done it. We've each done it differently. So that whenever these others, that the cleanup piece of this is one, holding space for them and understanding what they're going through, because they're going to
Right.
it out a bit and try to be figuring things out. And but there's a collection of us who have already progressed in that way that we can hold the container for them to do it, more so than us diving in to fix everybody. It's more
Right.
how do you help hold that space for them to find their own way and help them without hurting them, what we were just talking about before. How do you understand what they're going through and
Right.
what you can do that would be beneficial and not harmful for them in that process.
And I feel like that's why we've been through a lot of the different traumas that we have as humans, so that we can relate to other people who've had those traumas and then open that door to something else, you know?
Yeah.
Or there, you know, certain of us are being with a certain group of people who have gone through similar worldly earth stuff as us, so that we can kind of bring them along or guide them along on their path,
Mm-hmm.
open the door for them in a different way, or, you know, show them some kind of literature that's not quite maybe what they would normally read, because, you know, they're more open to it because we've been through the same kind of things as them.
Mm-hmm.
More open to listening.
We talk about the billboard, you know, it's like they'll be looking around energetically or physically and be like, okay, well, you're not being, you know, you seem to be okay here and you seem to be uplifted and light, and how are you dealing with these things, you know? And so that's the billboard piece, I think, plays into that too.
Yeah, you
Part
can't,
of that.
you're not gonna, first of all, you're not going to do someone's ascension for them.
No.
Right. No.
Second of all, you're not going to tell them how to ascend.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
There's nothing you can tell them that's actually going to, even if you're right, you're wrong.
Right.
Because
Right.
it's their ascension. What we are, we're signposts. We're big billboards if we do it correctly,
Mm-hmm.
According to what resonates with ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
You've
Right.
got to get your own yard squared away before you start even considering someone else's yard.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And I don't actually even ever consider anyone else's yard. I just will like kind of give them a breadcrumb and show them how to go, you know, or to point them in the direction of what you know, I'll say I read this, but it might not work for you, but go find a wormhole to dive into that you start thinking about, that you love, you know? So, you know, that's my friend Emily asked me today, she was like, well, what do I do? Where do I start? I'm like, just go on, you know, go find something that you like and then keep on going. It'll come to you, you know?
Yeah. And each of us are developing our strategies of dealing with others. My strategy today is not going to be the same strategy, same exact strategy as next week, because
Yes.
I'm learning to become a better aid worker. And that is being able to tap into my higher self, who can then tap into their higher selves. When someone says, hey, how did you get there? How did you do that? I don't want to give them answers.
Right.
I want to, like you said, I want to point them in the right direction and go find your answers. And then really what they're doing when they're coming around you is they're tapping into your energy.
Right.
They're not, for you to give them an answer, even if you did give them an answer, it's not going to work for them the way it worked for you.
Exactly.
So really, they want to siphon off a little energy, and then, but we becoming good aid workers learn to say, okay, that's enough. You go, because now you're starting to become a dependent on my energy.
I had to learn that because I used to be an enabling, people-pleasing, codependent human being, and I would let everybody suck everything off me. And even as I was awakening, I would try to hold people's hand and be like, no, let me help you, let me guide you, and it was just unhealthy for me and them and everything. So I had to learn not to be that way, not to be that way at all.
Mm-hmm.
All right, the next one is knowledge isn't a new direction, but can be used to identify the need for one.
Okay, so tell us more.
All right, so, okay, let's say you've got a plan right now for dealing with work, all right, and your whole career path and all that. You've got a plan, you've been working to it and whatnot. And then all of a sudden, this new knowledge just dumps on you. Comes into you, and you have all this new knowledge. Having that knowledge doesn't give you a new direction. It doesn't all of a sudden hand you a new direction. What it does is give you a new knowledge base to pull on when you look at your career path. And then you say, what I thought of my plan that I put together previously for my career path, that was good for the knowledge base I had. Now I have a new knowledge base, so I may fine tune my current path, but the knowledge doesn't give me a new direction. It's me then applying that knowledge base to where I want to go. This is going to be important as this stuff, these knowings start dropping on us. You can learn everything all of a sudden, don't learn it. You just know it. That isn't going to fix all your problems.
Right.
No.
You still have to then apply the knowledge, and you pick and choose, because you can't handle every one of your problems that you're going to face in a year. You can't face them all at the same time. You're going to face them you're actually drawing them to you in the order they're drawing in order for you to learn something. So if you get new knowings, it's to apply to those same things and be able to pluck out more lessons learned. There's a big difference between a knowing and a lesson learned.
Right.
A lesson learned is based on experience.
Yes.
Based on your experience. Versus a knowing is collective you tapped into collective conscious, you just know something. That is not from your perspective. That's actually from the universe's perspective. But something you learn, a lesson learned, is actually a knowing from your perspective.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So I felt like that this was important for all of us who are waking up and the knowings are coming online, is don't expect them to fix your problems.
No.
Well, that, and also I think that in the past, I'll speak for myself, in the past when you get something, it's kind of like, oh, is that a sign I need to be, doing this? And we're going to get so many things coming in. It's not a sign to go do that. It's just
right.
That's options.
That's kind of what I'm talking about, is don't assign your sovereignty to something or someone else.
Right.
It's that knowledge is coming on for you to use, for you to make the decisions about with your sovereignty. And if you decide you want to go in a new direction, don't say, well, universe chose it for you.
Right.
Right. Yeah, I know what you're saying.
Then we're all drones.
Yes.
Yep.
We're not sovereign.
Right.
No, that's just another. That's just another not owning it.
Yeah.
Yeah, another way of not owning it, trying to blame it on something higher than. Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of like an underling of victimhood, because it can easily become victim thought.
Yeah.
So.
Exactly.
The next one is Trailblazers are now clearing out the weak link. That's being done right now. And when I say weak linked, nothing is bad or good. Really, it's a matter of perspective. It's a matter of what is it tied to? How is it tied to it? A lot of us are tied to our traumas. we could easily say, no, just sever the tie between my traumas and free me. Why are those ties there?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe they're actually there to serve you in the long run, not the short run. Short run would be just sever
Right.
the ties, get rid of it,
Mm-hmm.
and whatever. But it's there to actually serve you and offer a learning opportunity.
And
So,
if you sever those ties, that same lesson's just going to pop up in a couple new ties around the corner. It's just going to be a
you're
new
just
thing
going to
you have
hit
to
it
go through one.
again.
Yeah.
So, but the Trailblazers are coming through, and these are master of masters who have gone through many ascensions and have gone through it playing many different roles.
Mm-hmm.
So they've seen it from many different perspectives. And so they're coming through and clearing out, let's just say the stray energies that would be considered debris. They're not
Mm-hmm.
really serving a purpose that we as a collective on this planet have attached to or need. So it's you're learning how to swim, and your mom stuck the wings on your arms, and you've been diving for like 3 years with the wings, and this trailblazer comes through and pulls the wings off, and you go, wait a minute, I've gotten used to diving with these wings. Yeah, exactly, you've got those wings. And the Trailblazers are clearing them out. They're the things that we won't do, that we don't realize we won't do. We've just gotten used to them. These things are being cleared. So it's gonna you're gonna be doing a pattern that we always do, and we gain a bit of security from it being the same always. But at some point, it's not serving you any longer. Mm-hmm. So really what happens is the Trailblazer comes through and embeds you with energy and motivation, call it motivation, to start to change it. Mm-hmm. And you're borrowing some of their energy in order to get the change started that will better serve you.
I just got a feel. It's like through my whole life, I've gotten this feeling. It's like everything's normal going, I'm feeling good. And then nothing's changed, but I feel different all of a sudden. Yep. It's like everything around me is the same, but I'm having a day where I wake up and it's like, but something's changed, what's going on, but nothing's changed, but it's an energetic shift. And I never knew what that was, but that's what made me think of when you just said that.
You probably tapped into one or more of your guardian's energies. Mm-hmm. They offer it all the time, but we like to do everything ourselves, so we keep saying, like, here, stop, come here, stop, come here.
It's like, wait, help me. Okay, that's enough. No.
Yeah. Oh, but I have to do that. No, I'll do it myself. I even have to do the work.
Yeah, it's like that joke about naming your dog Stay. Come here, Stay. Yeah. Come here, Stay. So you can tap into that Trailblazer. I call it Trailblazers, but you can tap into that guardian energy anytime you want. They won't let you become dependent on it because it's usually a one shot for one kind of situation. They're not going to let you keep tapping into it over and over and over again, because that just builds dependency. But they'll monitor and allow you, when you recognize I've been stuck in the same old pattern. I need some motivation to just knock me out of it and let me, come to my senses and figure out how to put the pieces back together, kind of thing. Mm-hmm. They'll often give you that energy to do it.
Mm-hmm. I've been good at asking lately. I'm always like, what's the lesson? I want to learn it so I can move past this right now. If I have any kind of feeling that doesn't suit me, I'm always like, what am I supposed to learn here? What's happening? Let's get through it.
The next one is summoning Myselves, combining forces. So recently, I don't know exactly where it came from, but I had the impetus to summon the other elements of me, the ones that are in other timelines, that are in other dimensions, and summon their energies, because, and which we do it for each other all the time. We just don't realize it, but it's time. It's time to summon the energy to bring into this now here, because it's needed. Or at least for my role. This is for me. This is what I was getting for me. And so I was trying to decipher it, and I realized I was getting these additional insights, and I felt different energies coming into me. And I said, is that my guardian energy? Well, you could look at it that way. Those are elements of you. But these are many different elements. These are near and close and familiar, but it's all these other, it's like all your relatives. You're like, as far as and even more, because this relative tells you, oh yeah, we have more family over here in Kansas. And then you go there and they, oh yeah, we have some more family down in Oklahoma. And so you're summoning, instead of having to chase them all down, you send out a summons. And typically when they feel that, it's not like they don't take your word for it, but they can feel it. The signature's there, and they're like, all right. Some of them say, yeah, give me a little bit of time and I'll send it to you. Because this isn't like you just need it for a moment. This is actually for a campaign. I got the feeling that I was getting ready to go into a new campaign. I've been on one for this planet, for humanity, and now I'm getting ready to alter. I've ended that, and now I'm actually going into new set of roles as part of this new campaign.
So you're recruiting your other selves.
I'm recruiting my other selves. Yes.
Do you get? This keeps coming up. Do you feel the different, not personalities, but differences in the energies from the different ones?
Oh yeah.
Like some of them could be, different kinds of beings or different.
The signatures, the signatures are almost the same, but not quite. It's like all of me are Mustangs, but they're different colors.
Okay. Yeah, because I wondered if there'd be like a Mustang and then there'd be like an eagle, and they'd be like, are they distinctly different, or they're just shades?
No, just a slight difference. It's like we all went to the same Ford dealership and got Mustangs of the same color. Then we left and we all modded them.
Okay.
So they're all based on the same model, the same exact accessories and everything. But now some of them went and put a new exhaust system. Some of them kept them factory. In fact, many of them kept them factory, but they added, some luxury items inside, or maybe an engine upgrade, or new tires and wheels, or whatever. But they're all roughly baseline the same Mustang.
Okay.
Yeah. The next one is Galactics aren't here to lead. They're here to dismantle anchors of old paradigm and then follow our lead.
I feel that. I can feel that. I thought I wanted to be a leader, and then I came to where I know I don't. I at all want to be a leader, not in any way, shape, or form. But I also want to make sure people aren't following the wrong people, or I want to help them to have discernment to know what's right and wrong, I guess, for themselves. But, yeah, I feel that.
Yeah, well, I learned because I was avoiding leadership, because throughout my career, whenever I got put into a leadership role, I got away from the things I enjoyed doing, and end up being put into what I call babysitting roles. And I didn't like babysitting. So then eventually just started avoiding all leadership roles, because that's, in my mind, that's what they all turned up into, is babysitting. And I don't like babysitting. So, but now I realize we're in a different, we're opening up a new paradigm. So I had to reopen all the old no's and reopen them for renegotiation. So I'm not going to avoid leadership. I don't think I'm going to be one jumping up and down with my hand raised, but if I find something that resonates with me, and it resonates, back and forth. I mean, it resonates with me, I resonate with it. How can I say no?
That's true.
And because if it resonates, it's got enough elements that I'm going to get all the benefits that I require.
Mm-hmm.
If it doesn't resonate, it's because it doesn't have enough of those benefits and too much of the, what I consider the disadvantages from my perspective and my growth.
Right.
So to be a better me, and to be a better human, and to be a better soul, I can't just say no.
Mm-hmm.
I have to learn to say, we'll see. Let me walk around. Let me look around and see how it feels, because this 3D world is materialism, is all symbolic, and it's not real. It's the energy that matters. So a leadership role and a non-leadership role, the only difference really, I mean, in the energy world is just the energy. We put differences in this 3D world that only apply to you.
Mm-hmm.
For you to be able to put it in a readable form that you can understand what's happening, because we've lost our memories of being able to read energy the way we used to. We're recovering those now, but we're not there. So in the meantime, we stick these protocols in place and say, I'm never doing that again, or I'm never doing that again.
Right.
And that served a purpose, and we learned lessons. Well, one of the lessons I've learned just recently is, okay, it's time to get rid of those protocols and reopen everything up to renegotiation.
Yep.
Well, and even the whole, we've talked about the whole definition of leadership. I mean, when we think leading, when it says follow our lead, that means they're going to look at us and kind of do what we were talking about earlier, what's going to help but not going to hurt. So when you're leading, and we're already in that role when we think about it in that way for other people, we're leading the way, we're stepping to a higher ground or a different perspective, and kind of doing things with those other people in mind. That's really leadership. It's not what we've attached leadership to do, but we have to put a plan together and force everybody to do it, and coerce everybody to do it.
Right.
Totally.
And then take responsibility if they don't.
Right.
Yeah, that was old male dominated paradigm thinking, micromanaging. That's what leaders had been up till now. The new feminine paradigm is going to be much more nurturing and giving back and forth, but it isn't like, I'm not going to do it for you.
Right.
I'm not going to be standing over your shoulder to make sure you do everything, because then I'm just making you weak. You're either stand on your own 2 feet or you won't. And if you don't, I'm not going to punish you. I'm just going to realize you need some additional assistance that then you can go get, but I'm still not going to do it for you just because you failed. Because in the old paradigm, many people have said, I can't do this. And then you go, I just wish this problem would go away. And you end up doing it for them. That's male-dominated, non-nurturing, micromanaging paradigm.
Yeah. Making it easier for yourself and not helping the other person. Yeah. Yeah, I have a couple friends who I can tell when they don't want to talk to me, because they know that they're not going to get enabled or get coddled. They just avoid me, because I'm always like, nope, go back to yourself, look in the mirror, or
Mhm.
And then I can tell when they're not wanting to hear that. They
Mhm.
avoid me like the plague.
And you're being a leader with them, because you're holding that space and you're staying in that. I mean, if you were to waffle and do it one time or be inconsistent, then they're going to go, oh well, it's not being that billboard. So
Mhm.
Yeah, it's not a matter of whether or not I'm saying this to myself especially. Excuse me. It's not a matter of whether or not I will play or I will fill a leadership role or ever drive stick again or um, jump out of an airplane, perfectly functioning airplane with a parachute. It's not a matter of whether or not you will do those things. We're moving away from that kind of symbology. It's whether or not you're going to follow the resonating energies.
Mhm.
That's really what we're going to. And if it's shaped like a parachute or shaped like a leadership role or shaped like a car with a standard shift in it, it shouldn't matter to you because you're
Right.
looking beyond that. And now you're looking at the energies. You're evaluating the energies and saying that resonates with me. Oh, but it's a leadership role. I don't care.
Yeah. Yep.
It doesn't matter.
I
Yeah.
just had a flash that it's kind of like when you say, well, my kid will never do that. For sure your child's going to do that. So if you say,
Yeah.
I'm never going to do that, that thing is going to be the one that comes up.
Yep. So that's why I'd rather say, we'll see.
Yeah.
I'm opening everything up to renegotiate.
That's a nice non-committal, non-karmic attachment type of thing to say. So it works perfect.
Yep.
Exactly.
All right. So the last one I have is some of the starseeds are ground commanders that lead the Galactics. These are identified by frequency and energy.
Mm.
So this goes along with the next one. But actually, some of the starseeds that are down here are actually the senior commanders of the Galactics.
Mm. And they've come incarnated here.
They only started recently reincarnating here within the last couple hundred years.
Mm.
But this was part of the plan. So they're down here,
Mm-hmm.
they're waking up, becoming more aware, going through the ascension process, possibly helping others and whatnot. But at other times, maybe at night when they're sleeping and dreaming and whatnot,
Mm-hmm.
they're actually going back up to the ships and they're leading the fleets.
Mm. Yeah, that feels right.
Yeah.
And
so,
they had to do that. I mean, just think about it, because we just talked about, help me. I want to do it myself. I mean, if they weren't here,
they wouldn't have enough of a commonality.
Exactly. We wouldn't accept it.
So if you're woke, don't say you're not a commander.
Yeah.
Don't say, because you don't know unless you're getting crystal clear dreams and you know of all your visions and you know where all the aspects of you are going. Don't even try to think that I'm not doing that.
Oh, that's not me.
Oh, that's not me.
Yeah.
I'm not important enough, or I'm like, yeah, that's exactly how you would camouflage to the cabal.
Exactly. Right. Yep. I feel like that. And it's weird because some of the only times, I guess they're dreams, the only dreams I've remembered have been to do with starseed things, and it's been just a random thing here and there, and it's only happened a few times over the last couple of years, but it's starseed stuff that I'll remember. Like I'll know that I'm a certain type of starseed or something because I've been questioning it, and then I'll wake up because they told me that I'm from Andromeda or something, and then it turns out that that's what my chart says too, and then I feel it and all this stuff. So I have had that happen before.
Well, I'll say this. I said this to her, and this is my perspective, and you don't have to adopt it. You can do whatever you want with it. You may, in fact, actually the star family you came from is actually from Andromeda. I'm not going to discount that. I don't know. But the thing is, that's not the only star family you belong to, because
I know.
You might have been from Ecturian. You might belong to a million star families.
Mm-hmm. I know at least 3.
Yeah. Those are the most recent ones, and why they're so prevalent in your behavior, and you can pick out the signs. that doesn't mean that that's all of you.
Right.
There are many aspects of you that have been at least all over the galaxy, if not all over the universe.
And that's why they're so interested in a lot of cases of our ascension, because it's like, you know, why do you watch your children's successes, or why do you watch, you know, somebody that you're connected to, a sport team that you have an affinity with, succeed something? Is because you have some connection. So they have connection to us. So they're going, I want to see what's going on. How do I help?
Yeah. Well, it's funny that you mentioned this, because this was another item that came up, and I didn't know if we were going to be able to get to it. So I just left it off and said, no harm, no foul. We'll talk about it. If it's meant to be, it'll come up at another time, but it's now coming up. What are we?
Yeah. Sorry.
What
my
are
battery thing?
What are we humans genetically? What are we?
Yeah, we're a collection of.
Yeah, we're bastards. We're a collection of all the genetics around the whole galaxy, at least. Really,
mutts. Bunch of mutts.
We're a bunch of mutts. Okay. Well, each of those pieces of genetics have genetic memory. Okay. So you aren't just, you know, this star family or this race, or these might be what's visible, but you have histories, you have genetic memory that goes for not just millennia, but I mean for millions of years, all crammed into your genetics. That's why all those galactics are out there, because we belong to them and they belong to us, and we aren't from just one planet. We are from all over the universe, and that's why they're here, because I told her this is like the bicentennial and every anniversary you can think of rolled into one, because it's their holiday. Oh, and it's their holiday, and it's their holiday, and I mean, where do we have on our calendars where one holiday matches all the different races, all the different ethnicities? That's what this is. And that's why you can pull out things that are the most recent and it feels the most familiar to you, but realize that's only one role, or just a couple of roles you've recently played out of.
What keeps coming up too is that when you think about, we have all of these, I'll call them specks, of all these different things inside of ourselves. That's kind of resonates with the fact that the universe is inside of us. We have all of those pieces and parts of all the stars and planets and inside of us, and we're the incubator for, you know, what's going to come through as the next creation.
So if you know everything, how do you pull up that knowledge? If you know everything, you can't like be in the knowing of it all the time. You are it.
Right.
So how do you,
like a query?
Yeah. But a query is only give you the results that fit that query.
Right.
So I think it's almost like a security clearance sometimes. So like for whatever karmic life you're living, you're only supposed to know certain things, and some things, if you know them, it'll be detrimental to that. So it's like you can only have a clearance to certain things. So you know what I'm saying? Like, because if you know too much, you won't be able to work out the lessons the way you're supposed to work out.
Yes, but
so you only know what you're supposed to know.
You're coming from that from scarcity.
Right.
I'm coming at it from abundance. Abundance is how do I get to know all that I know? I know all of it, but how do I get it? How do I feel it?
Access it.
You have it play out. That's why
you have to experience it. And that's what we're doing. That's why we've played millions of different roles in order to know, to experience that knowing. That's what Source is. That's our role, is to experience these different knowings so that Source can know itself.
Yes, absolutely. That's cool.
That is really cool.
We're all agents of source.
Hmm.
AOS.
We should get cards.
Yeah. Or tattoos on our forehead.
Right.
Oh, shoot.
Oh my gosh.
Well, this has been fun.
Yeah.
It's been great. Yeah. Thanks,
Safe and
guys.
good energy.
Yeah. Thanks for coming to play with us.
Yeah.
I loved it. This has been great. I was looking forward to it all day. And it's funny because I probably would have been really nervous, like a month ago or 2 months ago, but I was really excited this time, to get to talk to you guys about stuff that I can never talk to with other people.
Yeah.
So it's nice.
That's all right. If you get nervous, we'll just make fun of you.
Good. I probably need it.
I mean, we're brothers and sisters, so
Mhm.
that's what we need to start spreading the energy to other people so that they'll come forth. They'll come out of their seclusion and start talking, because we need more and more people talking about their experience, because eventually we're going to get to the point where, hey, this is what I experienced. Hey, tell me about what your experience was.
Mhm.
I don't want you to be like me. I want to hear yours. It's like reading a new book.
Yeah.
We
Well,
need more
I
people.
found too, like, when I was going through it and I was very alone, I have friends who are going through it, and it's sometimes I'm like, I love you. I just love you. I just want you to know I love you, and no judgment, no anything. I just want you to feel loved right now. So sometimes even just to be able to do that, that feels good to me, just to be able to love on them where they're at in their process.
Yeah, I want nothing from you.
Yeah.
I just want to tell you I appreciate you.
Yes, and I love you, and I'm here, and I'm not judging.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
I like that. That feels good.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, I'm going to stop the video. We're good. And
Okay.
just 1 second, Jenny.
Okay.